Now, yesterday we know that lots of people took part in Invasion Day rallies. Again, the Union newsletter website says hundreds of people around the country were involved in those protests. We know that there are people who are very passionate about the sins of the past. But amazingly, there is very little conversation that today is an international recognition of one of the worst sins of the past, that of course being the Holocaust, where 6 million people were murdered. We learned today that just 1/4, or I should say a quarter, of all Australians have no idea about things like the Holocaust, and the Holocaust specifically. Here's some of the things that came out as a result of that survey, which was done by Deakin University. A third of millennials know nothing about it. 6 million people. In part, the reason for what was happening with World War II. A quarter of all Australians have no idea. And only half of all of the people that were surveyed, which is more than about 3,000, I think, had any idea that 6 million people were murdered. In fact, in stories about this today, this was written: the multiple choice questionnaire of more than 3,500 people found that only 67% of people knew that the Holocaust described the extermination, genocide or mass murder of Jewish people and other persecuted groups. This is a disgrace. This is a failure of education. But also this is a failure of morality. At a time when morality is often used as the reason to tear down symbols of the past, to challenge national days, you would think that anyone coming through our education system would know that 6 million people were murdered by Hitler and the Nazis. The man who, of course, defeated the Nazis, Winston Churchill, puts it best when he said this: "Those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it." What does it say about those who don't know it at all, let alone learn the history? The truth is that while most of us have a direct connection to somebody who served in World War II, as the years roll on, that connection will become a little bit dimmer. It goes from being our direct family members to distant family members. And just like it is now in regards to World War I, the public consciousness of it becomes a little bit different. It becomes something that's consigned to the history books. Now, in states like Victoria, it is compulsory to learn about what happened, and rightly so. But what does it say? That a generation that claims to be the most woke, the most awoken to suffering, that a big chunk of that generation has no idea that the Holocaust means the destruction of 6 million lives. It's an indictment on them. All crimes of history matter. The Holocaust, of course, is right up there with those that we must never forget. Because as soon as we start to move towards a world where these things become a little bit dim, or something that happened a long time ago, we'll be doomed to repeat the dehumanising that ultimately led to what happened all those years ago, but we must never forget, especially on this particular day.